So before I switched to Arch, I spent way too much time looking at different distros. I looked at Mint, I looked at Ubuntu, Manjaro, probably some other stuff in between, and then eventually I got to Arch Linux. But in the end, what I realized is it doesn't actually matter what distro you pick. So let's get started. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So if you want to run Ubuntu, that's cool. If you want to run Debian, Arch, Gentoo, even do Linux from scratch, all of that's cool. And I'm not trying to say you shouldn't use one of those distros. But the point that I'm making here is that for new users, they see how there's hundreds of distros, like literally hundreds. Go look at DistroTest. That isn't a comprehensive list. Or even DistroWatch, which is a ranking website for distros. I'm sure that's not a comprehensive list. And there is hundreds of different distros there. And in the end, it really doesn't actually matter. So when most people look at their distro, the way they define it, even for more technical users, the way that most people look at it is their distro is pretty much defined by their window manager or their desktop environment, or even if you want to go just full terminal. The way that you experience your distro comes down less to what the distro is and what skin you put on top of it. So if you run Ubuntu with XFCE, that is an entirely different experience to Ubuntu with, say, KDE or GNOME. The biggest thing that a distro does is determines the defaults that your system has. So, say if you run, let's say, Manjaro. Manjaro has a lot of built-in game support, but there's no reason why you can't do the exact same thing on Ubuntu or on Arch. It's just going to take a bit of extra configuring. Pretty much the distros come on like a scale of how much configuring you want to do. So, not throwing shade at the Mint users or anyone like that, but Mint is a fairly simple distro to just install and get using with it. Especially with Cinnamon, it's a very Windows-like experience, so if you've come from that background, it doesn't take too much to actually get used to that. But say you want to run, like I'm doing, I'm running Arch. When you first install that, you're dropped into a TTY, and basically it just says, go ahead and do whatever you want. So in the end, you could turn Arch into Mint, pretty much. You could install Cinnamon on top of it and do all of the Mint defaults and basically just make your Arch system Mint, if that's what you want to do. Or you could do the opposite way. You could take Mint, get rid of everything, just turn it into a terminal interface. In the end, it doesn't actually matter what you pick. It pretty much just sets up where you're going to start. So really the main thing that the different distros do, sure, people are going to say, oh, but this one's faster than this one. This one is better at this than this one at the actual distro level. But for a new user, that stuff doesn't really matter. If, say, they want something that Ubuntu does special that Arch doesn't do, or Arch does special that Ubuntu doesn't do, then they can decide that later. This is more directed towards the new users who see these hundreds of distros like I did, and it's like, I don't know what to pick. There's so much choice, and there's not really any good direction about what to go with. And the reason there's not much good direction is because ultimately it doesn't matter. It all comes down to how much work you want to put into your system. And if you don't want to put any work into it, cool, go run Ubuntu, go run Mint. Or if you want to put tons of work into it, do Linux from scratch, do Gentoo, do Arch. It all depends on how much time you're willing to put into your system and how rewarding you feel like that experience would be. I wouldn't ever recommend Arch to someone who is completely new to computers, but if they want to dive into that experience and really understand, so this is how I set up my networking, this is how I set up my window management, this is how I set a background even. Because sure, you can have that exact same experience with Ubuntu, or with Mint, or with Manjaro, but if you want to learn it from the ground up, it's probably better to start with a minimalist distro and then go from there, rather than picking one of the bigger distros and then stripping them down. So this goes along with how much work you want to put into your system. There are packages that are designed to work on Debian, for example, or they're designed to work on some sort of Arch-based system. As long as you can get the dependencies for them, really you can get them working on other distros. But it depends on how much work you want to put into it. For something like Arch, Arch has the AUR, So generally, any program that is available on Debian or anything else really, someone is going to put it into the AUR and have figured out a way to get it working. On other distros, you don't have this luxury. I think you can get the AUR working, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know what compatibility would be like with other distros. But you can get the packages working by yourself. You may just have to put in a lot more work than you otherwise would have. So I think that is pretty much everything for me. And yeah, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon below if you want to see more from my channel. Check out my Twitter if you want to see updates about the videos that are coming out, because I don't know how well YouTube is actually telling people. So yeah, leave a comment letting me know what you think about different distros, I guess. And if you think there's a best distro and I'm wrong about how I don't think any distros actually matter and you should just pick whatever you feel like. So I think that is pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.